It's that time of the month again, and by that time of the month, I don't mean someone's menstrual cycle. Hello, and welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti, and in case you didn't know, I like to read books. And in this video, I'm going to talk to you about all the books that I read in May. But before we do that, I thought that I need to give you two things before we start. One is that it has started raining in Bombay. So if you hear any noises, it's like the winds going against my windows, which are right here. And you will maybe hear some clattering. I have a mic on, but you never know. Bombay winds be a little cray. But second thing is that I know I look great today. I look so good. Like my hair, what? I don't think I've had such good hair in a really long period of time, and I gotta thank my leave-in conditioner for that, I think. But yeah, I'm letting you know that I know that I look good today. I'm not trying to act conceited, it's just facts. But yeah, also third thing is that we have a special guest today, and by a special guest I mean Stats Bitch is back, or rather a different version of hers back. Basically, if you are new to this concept, I basically run through my stats of the month, like just basic stats about my books that I read, etc., which are fun to me and fun to some of you. And if you don't want to watch that, I will put timestamps down below and you can like skip over to when I start talking about the books. But I'm going to be talking about the books based on my least like to my most like, and I'm going to do it in two sections. One is the books that I've not spoken about in any videos, and then the books that I've already spoken about in videos. So you have that as well. And all the videos that I talk about, I will be linking down in the description that you can check out. And I think that's all I have to say for now. So let's give it up for Stats Bitch! Alright, stop clapping for me. It's fine. I know I'm amazing. It's all good. But here I am with my new glasses that I need because there are stats that need to be read, and these big glasses help me read them. Anyway, in the month of May, Smriti read 10 books, which was a total of 2,832 pages, which comes to an average of 91 pages, which is way lower. And by way lower, I mean 9 pages lower than what she wants to do, which is read about 100 pages a month. So boo to you. Boo to you, Smriti. But yeah, the average rating is not that bad. It is 3.95, so somewhere around a 4, which is all great because the only rating that she has given terribly is to one book, which she gave a 1.5 star to. 1.5 star. But after that, she gave 6 4 stars, 2 4.5 stars, and 1 5 star. So that is great. But you're like, Smriti, all the books that she read, how much money did she spend on it? I will tell you because I know you're nosy and so am I. So the total amount of money that she spent was 1,777 rupees. So if we do the math, 1,777 divided by 10 is 177.7 rupees per book. So I guess that's not bad. She read from a total of 7 countries, which you can see the thing here. Yeah, it's cool. And last time in her quarterly wrap up, she had said that she read from a lot of Caucasians, which was terrible because we don't want to read from white people. So she read from 70% of authors of color and 30% of white people. So you can see the whole thing here as well, which is the ultimate breakdown. But yeah, another cool stat that I wanted to give you is that she read from, out of the 10 books, 9 authors she had never read from before. So that is fascinating to me and my big glasses. But now I will give it up to her again so that she can actually talk to you about those books. And back to you, Smriti. Alright, thanks, Stats Bitch. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed her being back. And if you didn't watch her, that's fine. She's a fun person though. But anyway, I'm gonna now talk to you about the books that I have not mentioned in any video yet. So we will go from the worst to the best. But however, the worst is a 4-star. So that's not the worst. These are all good books. But the worst, technically, is A Dangerous Collaboration by Deanna Raybourne. And this is part of the Veronica Speedwell series, which is fastly becoming a book series that I go to whenever I feel like I'm getting into a slump, or I'm feeling bad, or sad, or mad, or what are other words that rhyme with mad or sad or bad? Anyway, it's fine. Yeah, this is just a book series that I keep going back to because I love the characters. Basically, we are following this person named Veronica Speedwell in the early 1800s or like 1700s. I'm not too sure which century, but in England, and she is sort of like this amateur detective, and she has this partner of hers who is like a work partner, but there might be more. And yeah, so he is this guy named Stoker, and they basically work together. She is also like a butterfly leoparditist, a person who like studies butterflies essentially, and she is lured to this castle of sorts somewhere on this island because someone says that there is a really rare butterfly there. So she goes there as a guest, and then there is a mystery to be solved of this guy who is the owner of the castle, and his bride went missing. So they're trying to figure out like what exactly happened, and it was fun. I think that I liked this book more for the characters, and like the we get to see them develop a lot more, and we get to understand them a lot more. So I think the payoff with the characters was way more than the actual mystery itself, but I still really enjoyed it. I like the way Deanna Raybourne writes this series. Did you hear that? I don't know. But yeah, overall, great time. I gave it a 4-star, and I would recommend the Veronica Speedwell series in general. Next, we have another thriller mystery, which is Look Closer by David Ellis. This book, funnily enough, I first gave a 4.5 star when I like finished reading it because I was like, oh my god, it's great. But then when I was trying to like sit down for this video, I remembered absolutely nothing about this book, which made me sad. But then I went to like look at the like summary, and I sort of remembered it, but like I feel like it's a bad thing that you don't like immediately remember the plot if you've just read it last month. You know what I mean? So like that's why I bumped it down to like a 4, maybe a 4 point. Yeah, a 4 sounds fine to me because of said reasons. But essentially, we are following initially a husband and wife who are married for a while now. The guy is like a lawyer slash like professor who talks about like ethics and stuff, and the lady is a person who works with like survival victims of like domestic abuse and stuff. And essentially what happens is that there is a murder of this socialite sort of person, and they get involved, and there's a lot of stuff happening, and you don't know what's happening, and you don't know who's playing who. Like it's just a bit of a mindfuck, and I totally feel like this book could be made into a really good movie that will really fuck with a lot of people's heads, and I think that that's a great thing. I think that the twists were great. It got to sort of a moment of like, really now? But I still really enjoyed it. I thought that it was very fast paced and very well done, but as I said, it sort of left my mind like a month into me reading it, less than a month of me reading it. So that sucks. So that's why it's a 4-star, and not a 4.5 star as I had originally given it. Next, we move on to another thriller, which is In a Lonely Place by Dorothy B. Hughes. And this book is a book that was written in 1947. Can you believe it? It's a book written in 1947, and I loved it because essentially we are following this guy named Dix Steele. Dix, like Dix, Steele with the E in the end, which is just such a like old, I don't know, Hollywoodish sort of name. And he is an ex-veteran, like the World War has just gotten over, and he's in LA now. And essentially, he is saying that he is an author and he is writing a book, but actually, he is doing other unsavory things, like killing people. Oh my god. But yeah, essentially this entire book is from like Dick Steele's perspective, and it's of him and like various relationships that he has with a woman named Lauren Gray, who is like a very interesting character. And I think that like she's very, like, I found her very like modern to like this day, and this character was written in 1947, so I'm assuming that that was like extremely groundbreaking or whatever. But yeah, I thought that she was like really cool and very like fiercely independent and like you know, that sort of person, which I thought was sort of like cool. And then the other relationship is with his friend from the army, who is now like a detective in the like whatever in the area of LA, and he is working on the cases of the murders. So I was like, whoa, what's happening? Essentially, like, this book gives you like a perspective of a serial killer, which wasn't even a term that was coined before like this even happened. Like, the term was coined way after and not in 1947, and it gives you a lot of things to think about, including like post-war trauma, what that might look like, what like generally living in like post-war could be like, and like gives you like the seedy underbelly of like LA, and just gives you like little bit of the creeps, and it's all in the head of this guy who's like basically a serial killer. But yeah, it also has like this feminist thing because this Laurel Gray is like really cool person, and yeah, we get to follow a bunch of other people. But I really like this one. I thought that this was really really well done, and I just can't believe that this book was written in 1947. Like, it's as old as India. It's like I can't get over it. Like, independent India, but whatever, you get what I mean. I'm like, it's yeah. So it's a little. I was just like really surprised by it in a great way. So yeah. Alright, next we're moving on to the books that I've already spoken about in other videos. So if you people want to drop off here, that's totally fine. If you've watched the other videos, that's cool. But if you want to tell me that you were here, you can leave me a butterfly emoji down in the uh, thingy, what is it called, the comments. And then I will feel happy, and also my engagement will go up, and I will hopefully get money because of that, but you don't get paid shit. So like, it's cool. The last video, by the way, that I made, which I just put up on Sunday, so far I have made 19 rupees from it. So just to let you know. Alright, but enough of jibber jabber about random shit. Let us get into the books that I have already read and reviewed. So I will talk about these books quite briefly. I think, hopefully, knowing me, I don't quite talk about it briefly. But yeah, anyway, the books that I want to start with, the book that I want to start with is a book that I read for the Booker shortlist. So basically, I read the entire Booker shortlist, and I reviewed each and every one of those books. And one of those books was Gospel for the New World. And I gave this a 1.5 star. This book is by a lady named Marie Condé, and the book was translated by her husband, Richard Philcox. And essentially, it's about a thing of like, what would it be like if Jesus was born in current day, and it had a lot of like the like similar sort of things, like a person being born in a barn, or like there's a person named Judas, there is a person named Mary, like there he, instead of like being a person who preaches to the public. He is a lecturer of sorts who lectures like the workers at a factory and like stuff like that. It's weird, but honestly by the end of it I just could not connect to any of the characters. I just didn't give a crap, and I was just reading it because it was short and it was on the shortlist. I would have like DNF'd it if it wasn't. And basically maybe like I could have connected to it more if I knew more about like Jesus' story, etc. But I know like the very basics. So yeah, but what I have realized is that a lot of people who also know the story didn't quite love it. They may have like liked it a bit, but they didn't love it. So yeah, I think it's safe to give it a 1.5 star on my behalf, and there is that. But the next book or the next few books are all like 4 stars and above, so they're all books that like I would sort of like wholeheartedly recommend or just like recommend in general. And the first 4 star is The Fisherman King by Kathrina Mohammed Daud, and this was a book that I read for my Asian readathon vlog, which is basically I did this thing where I spun a random wheel of all Asian countries and it landed on a country that I had to read from. So for this book I landed on Brunei, and I was like, what book am I going to find on Brunei? But I found it. And this book is basically about like a lot of like Brunei's history, but also like its folklore and like mythology and all of that sort of stuff, and it's put into this very like interesting sort of mix, and we get it through the perspective of this young man who is an orphan, and he was brought to this water village in Brunei, and like he has always thought that he is from like the royal family or something like that. So he goes away for a while and he has like these sort of adventures of sorts, and we get to hear about that. But now he's back and like there's something that he needs to do, and he gets his like lover that he's had since like he was a child essentially, to like accompany him. And I really liked her as a character, and I really liked a lot of the characters as well, like most of the characters, and the writing was like absolutely freaking sublime. Like it was just so lush, and I think lush is the best word to like explain it and like describe it, because like it just felt like so amazing and so like evocative. I would highly recommend checking out the video that I did, because like I read out the first few paragraphs of like the book to just give you an understanding of what it is like, and it was just so good. Like I haven't read words like this in a while, which just made me like feel so much about like a particular like page, and just like boom, immediately made me imagine it. But yeah, I liked it. I thought that it was great, but like didn't love the ending as much. So yeah, gave it a 4 star, but still would like highly recommend. Because when was the last time you read a book from Brunei? Okay, book that I want to talk to you about is a book that I have like an entire review about, which is The Immortal King Rao by Vauhini Vara, which is a book that was a finalist for this year's Pulitzer Prize for fiction. There were essentially 3 finalists, out of which 2 won. So this was the only one that didn't win, but this had a lot of hype in India before, so I had like a copy, so I immediately read it and then reviewed it after a while. But anyway, it's up, so you can go check that out to get my detailed thoughts. But essentially we are following this man who is Dalit, and we see him grow up in like this coconut farm in Karnataka, I think, and then we see him sort of like become this like global mogul of sorts who has started a tech company called Coconut, and how that company is sort of like a mix of like Microsoft and Meta and Google put together, and we are also in another like sort of timeline where we are following his daughter who is telling us these stories, and the world has gone through like a huge like sort of dystopian change with like climate change and stuff happening, and like tech sort of taking over and stuff. And I thought that this book was really interesting. In terms of the tech, I thought the tech was really good, and like the way that that was described, it's very real, because the author is a tech journalist, so she knows like what's happening, and like what people are working on. So like it's very, very real to you. But she also critiques a lot of stuff, which is very interesting. However, my only thing that like sort of took away from it was the amount of timelines, and I didn't like the ending. But you can hear much more about this book in the other video that I did dedicated to this one. So I hope that you check that out if you haven't already. I moved the camera, but sorry about that. Next, I wanted to talk to you about another 4-star read which I read for the Booker Prize. So this is the last book that I read for the Booker Prize, which is Stillborn by Guadalupe Nettel, and this book was translated from Spanish by Rosalind Harvey. I remember. Great. So this book basically follows two friends named Alina and Laura, and essentially they are friends from like college times, and they sort of made this pact that they don't want to have kids. However, one of them changes their mind and the other doesn't, but they're still like very supportive of each other. And the person who does get pregnant ultimately has a lot of like complications, and we basically follow both of their journeys. And then the one who doesn't want to have kids has like a neighbor who is a single mom who has a troubled child of sorts, so she starts like looking after the kid as well. So it's like, even though she didn't want to be a mother, she sort of is mothering someone else. And it also like sort of talks about a lot of like other sort of like relationships, so they also talk about like their mothers and like a bunch of other stuff. And I thought that this book was really well done. I really enjoyed it, though it wasn't like an absolute banger for me, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I thought that it did a really good job, and I think of my rankings, I ranked this the third of like all the 6 Booker prized books. But like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and you can hear all my thoughts in that other video. Cool. Please give me more views. So we're on the last 3 books of this wrap up, and all 3 of these books I read for my Asian Readathon vlog, which I just put up last Sunday, last Sunday, whatever. And it is good, so you should check it out. But anyway, the third last book, which I also gave a 4-star to, is First They Erased Our Name by Habiburahman. Yes. And this is about a Rohingya man who has like sort of escaped Myanmar, and he tells his story to this French woman named Sophie Ansel, and then that book is then translated to English by Andrea Reese. Yes. Okay. So basically, we get the story of Habib from the very beginning of his life. We get to see him in his village, of him growing up, and we basically, through the story of this man, get the story of like how the Rohingyas were treated. And if you remember like the Rohingya crisis that sort of happened, and like the sort of people who were migrating away from the ethnic cleansing that was happening in Myanmar of their people, this gives you an understanding of like why exactly that was happening, and like what exactly they were going through and how they were treated, which is like absolutely horrendous, I must say. But I think that this book did a really good job of like giving you that like picture, but through like one person's perspective. And like honestly, like this man has gone through a lot, and Jesus Christ. But it was a really good book that gave you a lot of knowledge about things going on in the world. And if you are interested in these sort of books, then I think that you should highly pick it up, because it is very readable as well, and just was great. Next, we have our one and only 4.5 star, which is The Diary of a Social Butterfly, which is a book from Pakistan, and it is by this lady named Moni Mohsin. And essentially, we're reading the diary of this very rich socialite named Butterfly, and we get to see things happening in her life, but also randomly we get perspectives of like what's happening in the real world as well, and with Pakistan. And she is just like a dim-witted person who only cares about like status and clothes and like her get-togethers and stuff like that, and like just like being out there in public and what will people say, and like having the best like sort of designers and all of that sort of stuff. So we're getting the perspective of like all of this, and like family squabbles, and like socialite fights and like just like random things like that, which was just the most funny thing ever. And like she would like misspell things or say like the wrong sort of stuff, which would sort of mean something else, like, you know. And it was, I just found this to be the most like hilarious sort of thing, and it just like uplifted me. I just had a ball reading this. I would say, however, that this had a lot of like South Asian sort of slang. So if you are not from South Asia, I don't know how much of this you would maybe understand, but I would still like recommend if you can check it out. But yeah, I thought that this was just just the most fun. You will read it like pretty much in a day, and it's just like you will be infuriated with her in the beginning, and then you will just be like, oh my god. But yeah, I'm like excited to read like the sequels and all of that as well, because like I just think that it was really fun. And yeah, that was my 4.5 star. And then my 5-star read of this month, and maybe my favorite of the year so far, because I haven't had many favorites, to be honest. But this one is Funny Boy by Shyam Selvadurai, and this one just stole my teeny tiny cold heart. Okay, maybe it's not that cold, but anyway, point is, it stole my heart because essentially we are following this young boy who's in school. His name is Arji, and he is gay, or he's learning that he's gay, and he's trying to figure that out, but he's also trying to figure out what's happening in his immediate world, which like his family and stuff like that, but also like what's happening in his country. So like this is right before the Sri Lankan Civil War. That took place in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we get to see how that slowly like builds up, but we also get to understand him and like people in his family, and we get this through like each chapter, which has like a small snippet from like various things that are happening in his life, and it is like it goes in chronological order. But I just thought that this book was absolutely lovely. We get everything from like Arjit's perspective, which I just loved, and I thought that this was such a great book, and I would highly recommend. Oh my god, so good. And yeah, that's basically all the books that I read in the month of May. I read 10 books, and I have spoken for God knows how long, but that is fine. You are used to it, hopefully. But if you are not used to it, would you like to be used to it? Please subscribe. What a wonderful way to say it. But yeah, that is all for now. If you have gotten to this point and don't know what to comment down below, apart from you maybe saying that, hey, you look great, or like, I have read this book, I also liked it, or I did not like it, I agree or disagree with your opinions. But if you don't know what to say, then you can just leave a butterfly, because butterfly, down in the comments, so that I know you're here. And as I said, it improves my engagement and stuff like that. So yeah, that is all. I will see you in a video super soon, and goodbye. Bye.